Mendocino County Farm Bureau. The Farm Bureau is very supportive of this agenda item. I think it's very important that approval of a letter to the state legislature requesting raising the gross vehicle weight on large trucks is appropriate, and it's also significant. As a comment, the California Air Resource Board is working on a new rule package for diesel engines, and it's going to start impacting all of our trucking industry, and it's also going to be very, very expensive. A move such as this, with the weight limits, it would help offset some of the impacts that our trucking industry of all kinds are going to be feeling. Furthermore, in our industry, it may make the difference for forestry between our local white fir and Douglas fir being commercially viable, and especially with the loss of hardwood mill. So I think it's a great move and encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Second speaker is John C. Graff.
John C. Graff, representing the Employers Council of Mendocino County. The Employers Council of Mendocino County represents approximately 200 employers and 3,500 employees, and we are in support of this proposal. We are also really pleased with Supervisor Pinch's efforts to find solutions, not only for our county, but in this case, the state of California. I agree with everything the Farm Bureau just brought up, and we agree with Johnny Pinch's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. Other speakers on the item before us? This is a request of a letter of support to our state legislators in support of increasing gross vehicle weight on large trucks in California. Supervisor Smith, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think that this is an excellent idea. I think that we have a procedure in place, which is our General Government Committee that has standing legislative referrals, and I'd like to hear from our CEO, but I don't know that Mr. Kaler has had the chance to investigate to see what legislation might be pending on this. So I think that that would be the preferable way to handle it, is to actually get this into the committee, see what's out there on this topic, and get something substantive in place, even perhaps more specifics in terms of direction. But I would prefer to send it to the committee, because that's our standard way of doing business, and look at what might be out there. And I don't think that Mr. Kaler's had the opportunity to do that, so I'd like our CEO to comment to see how he perceives that this best fits with bringing this issue forward. Thank you.
Mr. CEO.
Thank you. It is a lot about process, unfortunately, with a lot of the things that we do. We have not had the opportunity to review the request. We think it's a reasonable request, but the normal process would be that it would be the board would refer to our office. Paul Kaler, who's our legislative analyst, would take a look. He would have discussions with Don Peterson, who's our legislative analyst in Sacramento, and then we would run it through the process. It would go back to general government for a recommendation, come back to the Board of Supervisors. We do have time to go through that process. Obviously, the state can't even get a budget passed, so this is not a critical item that legislatively they're going to take up in the next 30 or 60 days. So our preference would be that your board give it direction to go back to the executive office and have Paul Kaler run it through the process, and then we'll put it on the next general government meeting and then bring it back to your board for a recommendation.
Okay. Supervisor Pinches?
Well, I thought about going through the government process quote, but our state legislature can't even figure out how they're going to regulate French fries. So this is an attempt to get the issue right out there to the people, to let the people put the pressure on our state legislature. This is something that just about everybody in politics, all of our state senators, our governor included, our state members of the Senate, has said, let's do something about saving energy and creating better air quality. This will do it with no cost to the state. It'll do it in a major amount. You know, this letter is just an attempt to get the discussion started. I don't know what good it would do to put it in our local committee, because we don't have the expertise to figure out, all of the weight, loads, and implications and the different whole vehicle code. So it's an attempt to throw it out to get a member of our state legislature to start the discussion, and then that's where it would go into committee and analyze it. But I don't think would have an effect for us to put it in committee, because frankly, a lot of the questions I don't have the answers to. Like, does everybody know the distance between axles on an 18-wheeler and what it'll take, different trucks? That gets pretty involved and complicated. That's what would be feathered out at a Senate subcommittee, issues like that. This is just an effort to get the discussion started, because it is a real solution to a real problem.
Thank you. Supervisor Delaware?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with Supervisor Pinches. I'm not quite sure we're not going to be writing the legislation. That's correct. And even if we did, it wouldn't be any resemblance of what actually came out of Sacramento. So why spend our time and resources and staff resources on what in essence is a concept that I'm willing to bet will look exactly like it does today after it went through months of process. So given what we have before us today, very supportive and very comfortable sending off the concept to our legislators.